Okay, we're going to go to Genesis chapter 37 and verse 11 to show you Joseph was different than his brothers. And this is why they hated him. Verse 11, and his brothers envied him. You see that? But his father observed the saying. And his brothers went to feed his father's flock in Shechem. Okay, they're telling you that the brothers preaching. All right? They preaching in the land of Shechem. The flock are Jacob's sheep. All right? That's his congregation. They're teaching the congregation. Right? Now listen very close to verse 13. And Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brothers feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said unto him, here am I. And he said unto him, go, I pray thee, and see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. Now, do y'all realize he has Joseph supervising his brothers? Let me read it again. And he said to him, go, I pray thee, and see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. He's sending him to check up on them boys. Tell me whether or not cause Joseph know more than them. So he sent them out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. Y'all see that? They hated him. Joseph knew more than his brothers. He was a prodigy. Joseph was a prodigy. He understood. And being that Jacob was old, he took more time with Joseph. It's just like anybody else. Whenever you young, you hustling, you trying to do what you have to do in order to take care of your kids. But whenever you have a young kid and all of his brothers and sisters are older than him and they move on, you devote your time to that younger one. You got more time to devote to that younger one. That's what Israel did for Joseph. And he taught him a whole lot more than he taught his other sons. Joseph was special. All right. So, but let's get back to our story. Now, you can read the story for yourself, but I'm going to give you the cliff notes to let you know what ended up happening. All right. As we left off, Joseph converted the entire nation of Egypt to the Most High's doctrine. They stopped following all of them idols and other gods and stuff that they were following and started following the doctrine of the Most High. He converted all of them. The word begins to spread in the surrounding areas about this dynamic preacher from Egypt. So now Jacob think his boy dead. All right. So Jacob's a broken man because he done lost his son, the one he loves. Right. So their ministry ain't doing so good because Jacob ain't got the heart to preach the word like he once had. All right. So Jacob and his sons hear about Joseph. They don't know that is Joseph, but they're hearing about this dynamic preacher from Egypt. So Jacob sends his sons to learn about what that preacher from Egypt is teaching. They want to learn it so that they can teach it to their flock too, because it's a popular doctrine. They trying to find out what he teaching. So that's the food that he sends his sons to Egypt to get. It ain't talking about regular food. It's talking about this man from Egypt is more popular than Jacob. Jacob was the one who was converting all of those people when he went into the land of Canaan. Now they hearing about this guy from Egypt. And this guy is converting everybody. The word is spreading about this preacher. That's what the story telling you. Y'all thinking carnal. Y'all thinking these people about to die because they ain't got nothing to eat. That ain't what the Most High telling you. All right? So Jacob sends his sons to go and get that understanding that they can bring back. All right. And that's how Joseph and his brothers and his father are reunited. All right. This story is telling you the future because everything we're talking about is happening now. All right. So let me go and give you some precepts to back up all of that stuff I said, because y'all might think I'm lying. But remember we was talking about those flocks. Let me give you a few precepts on that. The different kind and such. We're gonna go to Ezekiel chapter 34 and verse 31. And ye my flock, the flock of my pasture, are men, and I am your God, saith the Lord God. So those are men. Psalms 103. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are his people and the sheep of his pastures. Those are men. Kind cattle. Let's go to Exodus chapter 9, verse 3. So you can see all of these things are considered cattle or kind, right? But we've already established that the animals are men, all right? The flocks. Exodus chapter 9, verse 3. Behold, the hand of the Lord is upon the cattle, which is in the field, upon the horses, upon the asses, upon the camel, upon the oxen, and upon the sheep. There shall be a very great grievous murrain. So it's letting you know all of those things are considered men. All of those animals are considered men. That's that's his flock. The flock of his pasture are men. All right. Now we're about to get you to understand what a pasture is. It's the land. The land is the ministry. All right. So it says one of those land is called Jerusalem. Right. That's a land. Let me get you Jerusalem so you can see what Jerusalem is. Right. And we've said this several times. It's nothing new. We showed you in the Bible. Galatians 4:26. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. So it's saying Jerusalem is the mother. The land Jerusalem is the mother of us all. What's the mother? Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. So you can see what the mother is. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Mother is the law. A land is a law. It's a ministry. It's a doctrine. It's a religion. That's what lands are. All right. So when those Kine were eating in the pasture. That's the land. All right. It's letting you know those kine were in a carnal pasture. And then they got sick. They got overthrown by drought for famine. They got overwhelmed by famine. Because a new land doctrine had come along. A new ministry in the land of Egypt. It was the ministry that Joseph was teaching, that he learned from Jacob. I hope y'all see that. We said before, the water. Let's get what water is, because it said they came up out the water. All right. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 26. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. The word is the water. That's the doctrine. Y'all see that? John. Let's go to John. You can see when it's talking about water. It said it came out that river. Talking about the word. All right. So you can see I'm not making something up. That's what I explained to you that happened. That's what it's saying spiritually. So John chapter 15, verse 3. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. The word. All right. You clean by water. The water cleans you. The water is the word. Proverbs 18:4. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. So that's what that's all talking about. And we already showed you that the food that you eat and all that other stuff is telling you that's talking about meat. We showed you whenever it's talking about meat, it's talking about learning, teaching and learning. Okay. Paul was trying to teach them people. He had to give them milk because they couldn't take meat. So milk is a liquid. Okay. Liquids are doctrine. All right. So the Most High calls doctrines liquids. He calls them meat. All right. So when Joseph instructed them to put that corn away, they had to come. When the famine came, they was coming to get corn from Joseph. Joseph was teaching the people. When they ran out of money, they gave him cattle. Cattle are people. So those prophets was coming trying to get that doctrine from Joseph. I hope that makes sense to you. So now basically it's telling you that Joseph converted the entire nation of Egypt. So now let's get back to where we were in Exodus 1. Now that you know the background of what happened, you're going to figure something else out too. If you have watched some of these classes that we've given, you're gonna once we read these scriptures, you're gonna get a very good understanding of the lies that these people are telling, right? Because we're gonna go to find out what happened whenever we're going to find out what happened when all of Israel and his house came to Egypt. Okay. So now you kind of know the story of how Joseph converted the entire nation of Egypt. The entire nation of Egypt. And it said people were coming from the surrounding areas to get food from Egypt, from Joseph, right? Then his brothers came, and his father sent them to get food from him, not knowing it was Joseph, because Israel thought Joseph was dead. They got reunited. Then Joseph went to get his father. Now here's something that you don't know. Jacob was converting everybody. Remember, he sent Joseph to check on his brothers in the field with the flocks. So he had converts, a lot of them, right? We're going to go to Genesis 47, because I just gave you an understanding of what these words mean. Genesis 47, verse 1. This is after Joseph brings Israel to Egypt. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan, and behold, they are in the land of Goshen. Let me read that again. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brethren, those are the 70 souls, and their flocks. These are the people that Jacob converted. The Bible is calling them children of Israel. Children means follower. He brought his flocks to Egypt with him. All those churches that he had converted from all those people in the land of Canaan, all the many years, they came with him. There are more children of Israel that are Gentiles than those 70 souls that came to Egypt. I know y'all see that. Let's read it again. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds. Those are cattle. Those are people following Israel's doctrine. And all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan, and behold, they are in the land of Goshen. The lie that's being told out of ignorance, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they're just ignorant to it. The children of Israel were from all races that were in the land of Canaan. He was converting all of those people that lived in the land of Canaan. Not only were the people that were in the land of Canaan Gentiles, flocks, following the doctrine of Israel, the children of Israel, but now Joseph had converted the entire nation of Egypt. And they were children of Israel. Y'all see that? These pastors are lying. The Most High is calling all of those flocks children of Israel. So let's go back to Exodus 1. So now you see what's going on. Now we'll start at verse 1. Now, these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt, every man and his household, that's those flocks, came with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. Now what he telling you is the carnal seed of Jacob was 70 souls. But the people of their household, those are all of those flocks. We just read it. It said that Jacob brought all his flocks and all his herds with him. This is only talking about the carnal seed of Jacob. But all those other people that he converted in the land of Canaan came with him. They're considered children of Israel, the spiritual house of Israel. Y'all see that? Because they were killing the old man, just like Jacob killed the old man and became Israel. He was teaching this law that we teaching you right now. That's right. That was the original law. Before Moses came with the carnal law, this was the law. You ever ask what law were they following before Moses brought the carnal law? This was it. Y'all see that? The children of Israel were from all nations. Children means follower. Children means follower. The followers of Israel's doctrine. The whole world, the known world, was following the Most High. From Jacob's side and from Joseph's side. Let that marinate. So now, that's why when you get down here, it says, and Joseph died and all his brethren and all that generation, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly. Because that doctrine was increasing. You had more children of Israel than Egyptians. Y'all see that? The whole nation was following the doctrine that Joseph taught. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them, with people following the doctrine. Children of Israel, followers of Israel. This is the spiritual understanding what the Most High is telling you. This is where we going back to. This is closing up the breaches. Joseph closed all the breaches. He had everyone following the Most High God. Then something happened. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the children of Israel is more and mightier than we. Their doctrine is stronger than our doctrine. That's what he's saying. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass, when there falleth out any war, they join unto our enemies and fight against us. And so get them up out of the land. The land is the ministry. He's saying convert them to his new doctrine. Y'all see that? That's when it started falling apart. When the new king came into power who did not understand God's doctrine and wanted to do his own thing. So it starts talking about how they set taskmasters over them and all this other stuff, and they work with rigor and all that other stuff. That's when they were forcing that doctrine on the people. Okay, they were converting the people from the doctrine that Joseph had given them to the doctrine that the Pharaoh wanted them to follow. All right, that's what that's talking about. All right, they built those cities for Pharaoh. Well, let's just read it. It says, verse 11. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasured cities. Treasured cities, that's churches. All right. Dwellings, any type of dwelling. Cave, den, house, temple, pray in your closet, getting the stuff out of your pantry. Any type of dwelling. It's talking about congregations, churches. So when it's talking about it, they built treasured cities for Pharaoh. They built for Pharaoh treasured cities, Pithom and Ramses. You see that? So they went and started building churches, right? But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. But when they was trying to convert the people still believed in the Most High's doctrine. That's what that's saying. All right. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. They were grieved because the people were not following the doctrine he was trying to give them. That's what that means spiritually. Okay. And so they made the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve in rigor. That means they started forcing it on them. All right. Made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and brick. Mortar and brick. That means they building the wall. They building this man's houses. They building his congregation. He was forcing them to believe what he had, his doctrine that he wanted them to follow. He wanted control over the people. God had control over the people. He wanted control over them. Y'all see that? Okay, and then it says, and the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives. The Hebrew midwives are the prophets. All right. Midwives is them doctrines. The prophets are the ones, the people who are teaching the doctrine. All right. That's the prophets. All right. One of them's name was Shifra and the other one's name was Pur. Those were doctrines. All right. It's talking about doctrines. So as you keep reading and you start listening to what these words mean spiritually, you can go through this right like I'm doing, and you can sit there and say, this means that, that means this means that, this means that. Okay? Because whether you know it or not, they wasn't really throwing babies into the river. That's not what that's talking about. That's another Jewish fable. That old man thrives on believing those Jewish fables. But Christ say you got to let that stuff go. You got to purge that stuff. You got to kill the old man. The children being thrown in the river. All that's saying is they were converting the people. The river is the word. It was his word that they were throwing the children, followers, into. I know y'all see that. Y'all have to get this spiritual understanding, right? Or else you'll be thinking that the Egyptians was a bunch of murderous people that went and just started killing everybody just because they wanted to control them. That's not what it's saying. That's what they're saying carnally. but spiritually, they were converting those people to Pharaoh's doctrine. So they threw them in his river. We read Ephesians 5:26. Water is the word, is his word. He was converting them to his word. All right? That means something. Once you start understanding what this stuff means, then you ain't going to be able to be tricked by these people. Now, the pharaohs of today have the people believing the same Jewish fables. Like Christ was immaculately conceived. Y'all don't know what that's talking about. Jonah was in the belly of a whale. David grabbed a lion by his beard or his mane. And that Lot had incest with his daughters. Y'all don't know what that means. That didn't happen. Y'all don't know what it means. So being that y'all don't know what it means, y'all following lies, Jewish fables. Stop believing these liars. These people are racists and liars. We're going to get the Lot. Don't worry, y'all going to get Lot. Matter of fact, that's your homework. Look at Lot. Try and figure out what it's talking about. All right, because when I put the video out for a Lot, I want to see what y'all think it's talking about. Now that y'all got these words, all of those classes about those words, you should be able to kind of look at the Bible and say, that doesn't mean that. Because you are killing the old man and you accepting the spiritual interpretation of what it's talking about. Lot didn't get raped by his daughters. That ain't what it's talking about. If you believe Lot got raped by his daughters, you can't get the kingdom. That's what Christ said. If you believe all that carnal stuff, you can't get the kingdom. They made the prophets write it two ways. You getting caught in the stumbling block, the carnal. You have to find the spiritual. So, all of you who believe that the carnal seed of Israel is the only ones who are going to get the kingdom, that is a lie, because the Most High converted the entire world to his doctrine. Guess what happened when those people died? He accepted their sacrifices. That's right. So, I gave you the precepts. You saw it for yourself. Y'all know what herds are. Just like you know that the heart is the mind. Those same pastors that's telling you that this shows you what the heart means. Righteousness. The law is the truth. They give you all those precepts for that. Those are spiritual precepts. Y'all telling me y'all believe those are the only precepts? They're not. The Bible's full of them. And I just gave you some to show you that the Most High converted all those Gentiles to his doctrine. And all those Gentiles are going to receive the kingdom. They just waiting. They're waiting. Believe what you want. The scripture says that if you believe in the Most High's doctrine and that you worship him in spirit and in truth, you will be redeemed. Thus saith the Lord God. I hope you enjoyed this class. Again, We are here primarily for the Gentiles because we have to close these breaches up, just like Joseph did. But if you have an open mind and you happen to be an Israelite, you have an open mind, open your mind up. Look at the precepts. Look what I say. Read the story again for yourself using those spiritual words. And now you know what's happening spiritually. So we'd appreciate it if you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And so anytime we put up a new video, you'll be notified. All right? And with that, I bid you shalom.